Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. And welcome to Conversations with My People. And I'm going to tell you something. Today, we have on one of my people. This is a woman who I have known and I have loved for over 25 years. And I am so excited about today's broadcast because I know those of you out there are going to learn so much from this woman, from her story, because she is the quintessential immigrant success story. She is an entrepreneur and understands the power of the smart pivot. She knows what great collaboration looks like, and she really understands the role that consciousness plays in the success in business and in making good, sound decisions. One thing I know about this woman, she is open to new experiences. She is fearless when it comes to facing obstacles. And she recognizes that every single breakdown or roadblock, that it creates the opportunity for a breakthrough. And I'm so proud to say that Anisha was my very first person that I mentored into entrepreneurship. And I learned something. I learned something so huge from that experience mentoring Anisha. I learned something that today remains the core of who I am as a human being. And that is that investing in people, supporting them, helping them to become the best version of themselves, helping them to create their dreams. That is where real joy, real happiness lives, certainly for me, is supporting others. And for that, I am so grateful to this woman. So now I want to introduce you to Anisha Khanna, who is an amazing, fearless, grit-filled woman who really is so connected to her purpose. She is the CEO and founder of Sonäge. But before you meet her, we're going to do a few big, deep healing breaths, okay? So we can get grounded and really be able to connect to ourselves so we can really hear this message, okay? So you know what to do. You've been here before with me. We're going to take those big, deep breaths, 4 breaths in, hold our breath, and then we're going to exhale. We're going to inhale love, hold our breath, and exhale joy, okay? Inhale, let's go. Hold your breath and smile. Exhale joy with a ha. Inhale love. Hold your breath. Exhale joy. Last one, right from the bottom of your feet. Hold your breath. Exhale love. All right, I also want to say one thing about Sonäge, because I get DMs from everyone all the time asking me, how do you keep your skin glowing? How do you keep your skin looking so youthful? I even have some people saying to other people, I think she puts a film on her camera because there's no way her skin looks like that at that age. No film. I'm telling you, it's this product. I have been using these products, actually, all of these products, for at least 4 years. And it makes a difference, a really big difference. Okay, so welcome, Anisha. Hi, Anisha.
Hi, Lavinia. Thank you so much. I'm excited that I make you proud, and I'm excited to be with you here today and share my story.
Well, I love your story. So, here on the show, we always have entrepreneurs connect to their origin story. So, we definitely want to hear your origin story and then bring us to how you and I met. Your
So I grew up in India. I moved to New York when I was 19 to go to college. I actually moved with $20 in my pocket, and my parents paid for my first semester. And after that, I was pretty much on my own. I worked 3 jobs and paid my way through school. And I had no safety net, so failure was not an option. Um, the first year I was in New York, my body just ballooned. I gained an abnormal weight gain. My immune system was shot. My face broke out, and everyone around me, thought something was wrong. And I got referred to doctors, and I was prescribed. I took more medicine in that year than I had in my whole life, but no one could figure out what was wrong with me. It was during this time I interned with your sisters at the pro shop at Equinox, the retail stores. And then I got referred to you, and you brought me on as your full-time admin. I struggled the first few months coming to Equinox, coming to work. The corporate office at that time was the second floor of 895 Broadway, and that gym was known as the gym for supermodels, and I definitely did not represent the brand. It was the time when you were following, an Indian guru and exploring all these alternative healing modalities and Eastern therapies. And you were living a life that I recognized, that I grew up with in India. And what I realized is that my body was in complete shock. I lived a certain way, for 18 years in India, and I moved to New York and basically adopted this processed and packaged lifestyle. So my body could not handle, the hormones in the meat and dairy, and the preservatives, the chemicals in the fruits and vegetables. So it was this conscious realization that you unknowingly triggered, and exposed me to, brought what we call as wellness today. I mean, brought wellness to my life. Wellness was not fashionable back then, right? I mean, people thought you were cuckoo even talking about it. I mean, you remember, 76th grade and having the first wellness center, and you know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of my origin story. I mean, that's kind of how I came from India and struggled, and got to you, and how you had, this profound impact on my, on my life.
I do remember those times being upstairs at 19th Street where we like had no walls. Everything was just
No walls. Yeah.
it really wasn't even an office in the beginning. I love those memories though. It just back in the beginning, like just the chaos and the craziness of just us all working together, and such a big part of it. So,
Well, the early days of Equinox was, we were just this small team, and I had the privilege to learn from you and your brothers. You worked crazy hours, and Equinox was kind of our life. And you were, just constantly exploring, right? You had a million creative ideas a minute, And, part of my role was to put those ideas on paper and come up with a plan. And we didn't have any money back in those, when I say we, means Equinox didn't have any money back in those days. So it's like, what are the couple of ideas that we can actually implement and benefit? And it was either hey, is this going to make us some money, or is this going to enhance the member experience? So it was for me, it was a great training ground for talk about an entrepreneurial setup. I mean, it was you kind of did everything, and it was also a way for me to learn how to balance creativeness and profitability. It's how do you put programs out and make them feasible? So it was as a learning experience, it was a great training ground for me.
And you were there for what, almost 20
years? I was
years?
there 16 years.
16 years.
So I joined you guys, the founding family, when we were opening 85th and 3rd. That was location number 4. Mm-hmm. And I had a great run. I had a great 16 years. I stayed on till we were at location 54 or 55. That was a long time. My last role at Equinox was, I head up retail. I was the national director of retail. I stayed through 2 transactions, 2 sales. Equinox was, sold twice. One was yours, and then it was sold again. And, it was really after the second sale that, the culture changed. And, even though I had a great time, I was making a lot of money, but I didn't really have the freedom to be creative, or didn't really have this, I don't know, this accomplishment or sense of purpose. So I ended up leaving for my next act.
So let's talk about that, because that's very common. And first of all, I want to say to you entrepreneurs out there, being part of a corporate situation is actually, in many ways, really, really helpful on getting you the foundation, the skill set that you can actually take into an entrepreneur situation, which Anisha talked a little bit about that. A lot of the stuff that she really learned being there for 16 years and actually going from an entrepreneur family into more of a corporate. Yeah. So there's so much to learn in that. I know these young people are poo-pooing corporate situations, but in truth, there really is a lot of knowledge, a lot of learning, especially when you first come out of college, those first 5 or 6 years. It's an amazing foundation. So with that said okay, you worked your way up this corporate ladder.
Yeah.
We often hear that at times when things go from that entrepreneur culture, ethos into more of a corporate, it can be very restraining.
You're absolutely right. What I got from it was a sense of discipline, work ethic, accountability. It really was, like I said, I mean, I was there a long time, and it really did teach me a lot. And I brought that, and I'll share that with you. I brought that into whatever I did next. And that never, here's the thing, experiences never go away, right? And it's how do you put those experiences, and in my case, there were, it was a company that was growing and doing so well, those positive experiences, and put it into something more, so I'll share. So I had a non-compete with Equinox, so I couldn't go back into the wellness business for 3 years. And, that was really the only thing I'd done. I went straight from college into Equinox, so that's the only thing I knew. So I pursued my other passion, which was dogs. I grew up loving dogs, and, I lived in Tribeca back then. And, down the street from me was this pet store that I frequented. So one day I went in, met the owner, and he was a celebrity dog trainer who was very good at training, but he didn't really, business was not his thing. So I ended up joining him. We teamed up, and we created a pretty successful business. So, and
I want to cut you in for 1 second because I remember at that moment in time, because we talked about that, and you were literally working at Equinox Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and then you went there and you were working on the weekends to kind of see if there was a fit.
Absolutely, yes, I did. I mean, the transition process. I did learn the business, wanted to make sure, and what I picked up on was parallels, right? So people are going to be, how can you take something from this amazing fitness lifestyle brand Equinox to a neighborhood pet store? But so here's what's interesting. The membership model was the core to what we knew at Equinox. So when I moved to this new dog business, I introduced a membership model. So like it couldn't have been better for our doggy daycare and our dog walking business. And, so customers loved it, built so much, loyalty. The other parallel was we used to do series sales, like 12 packs for personal training. So I took that business model and moved it over to dog training and dog grooming. So it's these business principles that you learn that you bring with you. So I was in a completely different business, but and that's what really helped scale our business and help grow. So we had multiple locations in New York. We grew to Chicago. We have New Jersey. So it was really something that said, hey, it wasn't just Equinox. I could take that and be successful in something that was completely different and new to me.
All right, great. So then you go into the next pivot. So you pivoted out of Equinox, out of a corporate scenario. You pivot into your doggy daycare, build that up into an amazing business. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to cash out.
Well, actually, it wasn't an intentional cash out. While I was, I guess a couple of years into Spot, which was my dog business, my father suffered a stroke. So I ended up, I had to help my family, so I went to India, which I thought was going to be a couple of weeks. But my father was in ICU for over a month. And long story, I ended up being in India for 8 months. That's a really long time. Being away from New York, I'd been in New York for 20 years at this point, almost 20 years at this point. Being away from New York for this extended time, just made me realize that I was living this type A rat race, working like crazy, making lots of money, spending lots of money. And it was just I didn't want to come back to New York. It wasn't satisfying. So I did what I do when I'm at a crossroads in my life. I called you. Like, Lavinia, what do I do? And you invited me to come visit you out in LA. So I actually flew from India to LA. And, you helped me get clarity, like you have in, many times in my life. And you encouraged me to move to LA. And, even though, I thought I would just be a complete misfit in LA, just the extremely casual LA culture was not who I was, but you encouraged me, and it was the wellness mecca, and I made the move, and I couldn't be happier. And so I moved to LA, and I'm going to go into my Sonäge story. It was Christmas of 2013. It's 80 degrees, and I'm a sun-starved New Yorker. I spent a couple of weeks in the sun. And early January, look in the mirror, and I noticed these pronounced brown spots all over my face. It hadn't happened to me ever in New York or in India that I remembered. If I was a typical consumer, I would have run to the dermatologist. But I was brought up in a holistic, natural way, so I'm always looking for a natural solution. Someone introduced me to this French esthetician, Sylvie Archimont. I went and got a facial, and she sent me home with these 2 jars and asked me to use it alternate nights. Didn't think anything. I started using the product. And within a few weeks, I saw my brown spots get considerably lighter. I'm darker skin, I'm olive skin. I mean, now I know, of course, that it's called hyperpigmentation and all the rest of it. But, back then I didn't know what was wrong with me. So I'm reading these products, I got help. I recognize the ingredients. And, this is 2014 when natural skincare was kind of having a moment. So I saw the opportunity. I went and spoke to Sylvie, and she was a typical founder. I'm not going to share my secrets, and there's no way you can join me. But in my gut, I knew that this was what it could be. That this is a phenomenal opportunity. So I kept going back to her. For 3 months, and eventually, she persevered, and I was part of the Sonäge family.
I love that story because that's what entrepreneurship is, people. You don't take no. You keep going back. You keep going back, especially when you can see, like when you have clarity on what your skill set is, that you can see. And I know you, Anisha, that's like one of the things is that one of the very powerful things about you is that you have a real clarity on what your skill set and where you need to actually either learn to get more knowledge on something or to hire it. So I could just see that you could see, number one, the potential of this because how great the product was, and that it was natural. And that, again, there really wasn't there wasn't a lot of energy around that. It wasn't food, that people were all about the food being natural, but people at that point hadn't really connected to that what we put on our skin. Actually, what you put on your skin is going to end up, 60% of that will end up in your bloodstream within like 9 minutes. That's why for me, like I have so much discernment when it comes to what I put on my skin, because I am not going to jeopardize the health, my blood, for a wrinkle. Like for me, there's clarity on that. I don't care. And that's why I fell in love with your product. But what I love is that you had the courage, man. Like it takes a lot of courage to do what you did, to pick up and start all over and to kind of like do this pivot where you didn't know what path you were going to be on. Like I remember sitting in my backyard talking to you about moving out here and what it would look like. And for a minute, I was so excited for you, with you. And then I'm even thinking, oh, I'll even do this with her. And then afterwards I thought, no, I don't want to work that hard at this age of my life. Like, because I really understand what it takes to do what you did and what you're doing. It takes a lot. It's a 24/7. It's and you have to be so connected in your heart. Like there isn't, like I always say about entrepreneurs, it isn't like, oh, I want to do this, or, oh, I desire to do this. No, it like comes through you. Like you can just see it. You can feel it. It's like, you can taste it.
And you got to follow through, right? It's all of those things. It's the vision, the feeling, and then the effort, the doing.
That action.
Yeah.
You got to be in the court. You got to make the phone calls. You got to do it. And that's what you are so amazing at. So let's talk a little bit about, so I'm sure, so you have to ask, do you ever find it surprising that you, a light-skinned brown person, a gay woman who was without a doubt very practical, you're probably one of the most practical, no nonsense people that I know, and you end up in the beauty business? Like, I don't know, like I was in the beauty business. I know there's a little bit of a different energy. Like, tell us.
To me, Sonäge, is a wellness. It's the wellness business, right? It's you're talking about it, natural, non-toxic. It's a holistic way of helping you take care of that wrinkle, or So I think here's what excited me, and this is our approach to Sonäge. So I spoke about teaming up with Sylvie. The fact is that I knew it from a consumer point of view. I used it, I experienced it over the months that I kept going back to her. I was trying different things and I was excited about it as just a consumer. I knew nothing about the business side of it or the science side of it. So, I immersed myself for a year in just the science, getting familiar with the R&D and the chemists and understanding all the different technology and, the delivery system. And, something as simple as when to use, a powder from an ingredient versus extract, cold pressed oil. Like, it's just a lot good went into like understanding the business. And, Sylvie wanted to grow the business from spa to consumer, but she wasn't open to changing anything. And growth is impossible. You can't grow something without changing it. So, she had what we call founder inflexibility. She just, but, it took me a while, but she understood that I had a vision to make this brand alive, even thrive, people are asking for natural beauty. So talking about our approach at Sonäge, right? We're a professional brand. So what does that mean? It means it's got to do what we say it's going to do. So efficacy, right? You're using it at home, but an esthetician is using it in her facial. So if you're paying $150 for a facial, you better look different, an hour later. So it is, so the efficacy piece, you will see results. The natural, right? So that's it comes as number two because we need results, one, natural, two. This stuff is good for you. We source very, very high quality ingredients from across the globe. So this stuff is really good for you. I mean, it's and it's this sensory experience. It's you use our vitality oil and it relaxes you and calms you down and gets you ready to sleep.
I love that oil so much. You know that I do.
I know you do.
I order it. I'm always like, could you send me the back bar sizes?
The back bar sizes, yeah.
Because that oil is there. You're right about the sensory. I mean, I use it all day long. I even carry a little bit of it in my little makeup bag because through the course of the day, even if I'm feeling a little stressed, I just take a little and I smell it and I pat my face and it just gives me that glow. Because I'm definitely that person, look good, feel good, so there's this whole thing that's integrated into the energy of it. So
that's actually a very, very big piece of it, right? We talk about your routine, your skincare routine looking good, but it's also about the feeling good is the self-care piece, which is huge. And the third is affordability. To me, having the price point, the basics shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg. I mean, this is, my vision for the brand has always been, it should, it should be, it should work, and it should be accessible. It really should be available to everyone. So that's kind of how we approach the brand and any new formulation and anything that we add.
And I have to say that was a big part, like when we talked about how I could be involved years ago, and because again, I used the products and I instantly saw a difference. And then I instantly would just keep hearing people say, oh my God, you have the most beautiful skin. Oh my God, you have the most beautiful skin. I mean, even like when makeup artists would put my skin, I would say to them, I just really no foundation, just do a little concealer. And they'd say, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to cover your skin up either. Because I thought it made me look, I always thought after Sonäge, my skin was like one of my best features was having.
We have to credit you at being a regular user. I mean, when we talk about affordability, accessibility, it's important that people feel comfortable using it every day, twice a day. So that's and you do an extremely good job with that. I mean,
But that was also like the price point for me was again, the product was amazing and I got great results. But when we talked about me being your chief wellness officer, really it was the affordability of the product that let me say yes. Because yes, I can afford to, have a little bottle this much that's, couple of $100, but I'm never comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable saying to people, oh, you've got to buy this. Like, first of all, I don't run with those people. That's not my world. Like, and that also on some level doesn't feel right to me. Like, I just am not that girl. I guess I'll always be, a Jersey girl that was really, I worked hard for my money.
Yeah.
So when I spend my money, I am I have a lot of discernment and I don't just waste. I'm not a waster. Like maybe because I earned it.
Yeah.
I look some of my friends who didn't earn their money. They're comfortable just throwing money out like that. I'm not. Like, I feel like I earned every penny that I made. So I spend cautiously. I would say I'm more frugal. I'm certainly not cheap, but I am frugal. And one of the things that I loved so much about Sonäge, like, how could this stuff be so effective when I know other people are out there buying oils for 4 times as much? And this stuff is better than that. So it was just like, for me, I'm like, yes, I will get on the top of any rooftop and scream how fabulous this product is. Because again, it works. I don't have to worry because I am that person that worries about putting anything unhealthy on my skin. And so it was like every box was checked off.
That's it. I mean, that's kind of what, and that really, that's actually built loyalty, right? Retention in our business is hard. There's lots of options, skincare, there's lots of options. But for customers to continue to come back, years and decades later, it speaks to the value that they see in the product, in the brand.
So let's talk a little bit, because we are still in the middle of this COVID pandemic. People, I know things are opening up a little bit, but I feel like as quickly as they're opening, they're starting to close, because people are all around us seeing everybody getting, I mean, here in LA, our numbers have, in the last few days have skyrocketed so high. So let's talk a little bit, because let's face it, you had about how many spas closed overnight?
Yeah.
700 spas.
So this is, and I guess it's a little ironic, but my philosophy has always been adversity comes with opportunity. I've dealt with so many constraints, and it's these constraints, looking back, it's these constraints that have taught me perseverance and given me this mindset to succeed. So we spent a year building out this new facility in Santa Monica. We opened a flagship retail store and moved our offices, and 2 weeks later, COVID hit. We've got a little over 700 spas using Sonäge. Overnight, our spa business, just hit pause, halted, and we had no idea. Is this 2 weeks? Is this 3 weeks? We were only thinking weeks back then. So it was, a long and hard conversation that we can't just leave our customers stranded while the spas are closed. So what do we do? So we came up with, I guess we could call it our first pandemic pivot. The first thing we did is come up with this DIY home facial. We put 5 products. We put a video together to show them how to use it. We have Zoom parties. So we have a Sonäge esthetician, Sonäge lead, really showing them how to take care of their skin at home. So it's become a really interesting, it's been good for the business. We've gotten new customers and new markets, but it's also created this community, which is going to live with us way beyond, the pandemic. So that was one. And the other, success that has happened is we are working with this really beautiful celebrity entertainer, and we're going to launch the campaign in a couple of weeks. And we're working with this world-class photographer. And
come on, reveal. We need some names.
we would never have gotten these people if it was life as usual. They're traveling the world and they're booked. And so for us as a little indie brand, it's you could either be like, oh, the world's coming to an end, or it's okay, this is what's happened. How do we turn this into an opportunity? I hate to say I thrive in that environment, but really, as an entrepreneur, you need to have those skills of, being flexible and adaptable, and you never know what's being thrown at you.
Yeah, I always say that as an entrepreneur, adaptability is your superpower.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get so comfortable in the discomfort of what's coming.
Yeah.
And, you also have to have a great team around you. You have to have people around you that, number one, that don't have, I believe this, like that, and I know you do, because that's, I believe, where the magic was in us working and collaborating together, was that I never overmanaged anyone. Yeah. I was a real believer in inspiring, motivating, listening, elevating. Now, I was also a big believer in, you hire people that already fit in your culture. You can train people if they already have the right culture, the right attitude, yes. For me, it's like the right heart, like the right grit, the good amount of grit, the good amount of just to persevere. Attitude is such a big thing. Mindset and attitude, you can't train that. Yeah. Like, that is not something that's trainable. It really isn't. It's either you have it or you don't, and usually it comes from that family of origin. So if you were with a bunch of negative people in your life, unfortunately, you usually sort of generate from that place. So unless you're really, really, really working on yourself, and you can, if you really work on yourself and you want to like shift that mindset, you can do it. But I'm not going to hire that. So if somebody's got this like stellar resume and they've went to the finest schools, and I sit across from them and there's no flow of energy, and they just sort of always see like the glass half empty, or they're always, I don't know, I get this energy of like, oh, victim energy or whatever. They're not my people.
Right.
Because I know what it really takes, that it's the mindset, it's the attitude, it's like your thought.
I remember you saying that, find me people with, who put up a lemonade stand when they were younger, and I will teach them how to sell memberships. Right. That's literally what you were looking for, right?
That's exactly what I was looking. I was looking for people that wanted that lemonade stand. Like, they were begging their mom, I want to have a lemonade stand. And they prided themselves. I didn't have a lemonade stand, but I always had a pie stand. And I always wanted to outbeat whatever I sold, from 3 months ago. Like I think I was like 8 years old, and it was like, and then I go into my dad's store, and it was like I had my own little tally of everything that I thought I sold, and every day I wanted to beat that number. I mean, nobody was teaching me that. It was like it was like it was generated through me,
Yes.
from me, and those were the people I was always looking for, people that just naturally had that orientation to life, could make a game out of anything, like beat myself. And I did it with running. I did it with everything. I mean, I guess on some level we were somewhat competitive, but I even remember having a tree in the front of our house, and I would have my sister count, and I would keep climbing up this tree. How many seconds was that? And I'd have to beat my time climbing up that tree. But that's what we did. We didn't have PlayStation. We didn't have all that. So you kind of created these things, and climbing up and down this tree and trying to get, up in, 6 seconds was like, woo,
Yeah.
So that is not something that's really hard to train people, that vibration, that frequency of having that. And that's one of the things that I saw with you right away. Like I just remember being in those marketing meetings or PR meetings, and you would walk out with like pages of notes, because I know, like, I just love to create, and I put people around that had that same energy, that love to create out of a box, even if most people would say, well, what does that have to do with fitness? It doesn't, but it has to do with life. Like, I think even then we already saw ourselves as a lifestyle brand, not as a fitness brand. I mean, early on understood, as you know, that I always said, in order to be healthy, you had to be spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and physically healthy. And it was creating programs in all of those 4 places.
Yeah.
Which I know at times people thought I was crazy for offering meditation in the gym, or chanting in the gym, or hypnotherapy in the gym. Like people thought I was a nut. Like I would get notes like, she's a quack.
Yes. I remember that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I mean, it's you had this vision, and you were way ahead of your time, and it was this creative process, right? And just to like I said, as it was a great training ground for me, because and you weren't just saying this, right? You went out and experienced it for yourself. You put yourself in these situations that regular people did not. I mean, you just went out and did all this stuff. And if something really felt right and hit home, you wanted to share it with our members and add it to programming. So it was fascinating watching you.
Well, it's fascinating watching you, because I see how you have taken so much of that energy and so much of that experience and literally built it into this really amazing, special brand. I mean, you have a lot to be proud of, because, I watch Shark Tank all the time. Yeah. And the truth is, they never invest in skincare, because they always say, oh, that category is way too packed. You would have to spend so much money on marketing to be successful. Right. And I watch you, and you have really, and I really believe it's because the juice is so good. Like, your product is really so good. And you've really been able to build something so, so amazing. And what I love about your brand is that you have an acne line for young people.
Yeah.
And then you have an anti-aging line. And you also have a line for more mature skin. And the thing that's so weird is, like, so often you can't be that good at all of that. But you have really figured.
Skincare, yeah, you're right. I mean, for skincare, we have a pretty extensive offering. I mean, it's generally color, right? Generally makeup, where you have, dozens of SKUs. And for a skincare brand, we do a lot. I think we do the basics right, which I'm really proud of. And it's just this constant process of evolving and getting better and learning. And, it's never, hey, we've formulated and, it's good. It never is. Okay, what next? How can we do better and safer?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is really about evolving,
Yeah,
staying present, seeing really what people what they want,
right.
what people are really looking for. And sometimes it isn't, it's also leading them to what they really need, and there is a dance in leading people. I remember at Equinox, we had to be so careful in the beginning about yoga, because if we put a class on that said yoga, nobody would come.
Right.
Like it just like nobody would show.
Yeah.
But we would call the class flexibility,
Right.
like flexibility training. And the class would be packed and the class would be yoga, because you had to kind of guide them there. Because if they heard yoga, they thought, oh no, you're going to burn incense and we're not going to do anything.
Right.
So much of it is guiding them in a direction, in a language that they can relate to, that's relatable.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that I think is so important with with brands, is to be relatable, to really understand what that looks like, to really be relatable to the consumer.
Yes.
I mean,
I'll give you a quick example. I mean, we market, eye creams to a little bit of an older, consumer. And then we started seeing that it's, the 21, 22-year-old is so worried about wrinkles. And the good news is we learned from that. It's this millennial generation who's so focused on prevention. The fact is, if you've done nothing with your skin for 25 years, it's hard to reverse, aging or spots, but it's all about a lifestyle. And I think this natural skincare movement has really resonated with this generation who's now taking care of their skin at an early age. And the affordability piece is, that's why it's important, because the 22, 23, 25-year-olds are now regularly using 3, 4, 5 products a day, and you want to be able to serve them.
Well, I always feel like my beauty regime really started with my mom. And I to this day, I don't think, and my husband laughs because he doesn't care. He'll say, my wife, I don't care if we went out and we had a drive after a wedding and it was 2:00 in the morning when she got home, she will never go to bed with her makeup on. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter if I could fall asleep on the couch watching a movie, and most people would just like go upstairs and say, no, like I literally have to take off all of my makeup. Like I don't think I've ever slept in my life with makeup on. And
well, culturally, that's a European sensibility. I mean, it didn't really, it's a very new concept, relatively new concept in America. But Europeans, French moms take their daughters for their first facial, at 13. So you grow up learning how to take care of your skin, and that's why French women are beautiful with amazing skin. Over here we do a lot of cover up, a lot of fixing, a lot of Accutane, so we can look good quick without realizing the longer term effect.
And also another really, and I know you guys embrace this in a lot with your storytelling and your branding, is, the skin is the largest organ that we have.
Yeah.
So the skin reveals a lot about your health and well-being.
Yeah.
And I remember having those terrible brown spots in my late 20s, it was interesting because I went to a doctor in New York who was supposed to be the dermatologist of all dermatologists in New York. And I went to him and I basically shared with him about a friend who had recently started seeing him and her skin looked beautiful. And he said, let's get one thing clear. You'll never have beautiful skin. Hmm. And it was like daunting to me. And then about maybe 6 months later, someone sent me to another doctor and he really helped me. And he did say to me, you probably will have these brown marks. You're going to be dealing with this for the rest of your life. Of course, I'm also, olive skinned woman. Yeah. But, it was at that point, I was also starting to see an amazing nutritionist at the time, Oz Garcia. And I really believe that at that time, getting on great supplementation, getting off of wheat and dairy and sugar. I was never an alcohol person, but no coffee. Getting off of all of those things, lower inflammation in my body. I mean, knock on wood, to this day, I have never had, that issue again. And I really believe it's that when you take care of the inside, it reflects on the outside. Absolutely. So Sonäge is amazing. But I also notice, again, I don't drink coffee, but I know if I went out tomorrow and started drinking 2 cups of coffee a day, I know in 2 weeks my skin would look different.
Yes.
I could be using all of the same stuff I'm using, and I know my skin would look different. If I drank alcohol and all of a sudden I started having alcohol every night, even one,
it will dry out. Yeah,
I know my skin would not look the way it looks. So it takes discipline. Yeah. Also, I mean, and I would say for me, my inspiration doesn't come from, I'm not really inspired by how I look on the outside, even though I like to look good, but that's not what keeps me inspired to stay fit and healthy, and my self-care and all the rituals that I do. It's really for my inner self. It's for my soul. Right. And the truth is, when you focus on that, and that's why that's why I believe I can wash my face every night before I go to bed, regardless of the circumstances, because for me, it's a ritual. Yeah. I make it into this beautiful ritual. Now, if somebody was watching, they wouldn't know, oh, she's doing a ritual, but it's how I feel. It's how I connect to it. It's the intention of it that I really enjoy that process. And I do believe that all of this stuff is when you start creating all these rituals of self-care, of soulfulness.
Right. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Then it's sustainable.
Right.
Like when I gave up coffee, I wasn't like, oh, I want to look better. It was like, you know what? I want to see how I feel. And all of a sudden, my energy was better. My mouth wasn't as dry. I don't know. It just, everything, all of a sudden, my skin was brighter. My circles were less. Like there were all these things. And I remember Oz saying to me, when I got down to 1 cup, I remember saying, Oz, I'm only drinking 1 cup a day. And I remember him saying, that's 1 cup too much. All right, well, this is good. I love this. But Anisha, before we sign off, I always try to ask entrepreneurs, because we have a lot of young entrepreneurs out there. And we even have people that are going to be pivoting because of 42 million plus people losing their jobs. Like, what are the 3 things that you really believe people have to do in order to make a successful pivot?
Well, the first one is don't be afraid of it, right? Don't fear adversity. The flip side of adversity is opportunity. Adversity, like teaches you, right, to be flexible, to be adaptable, and these are skills that'll serve you well as an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm a big believer that the constraints in my life have given me a mindset to succeed. I mean, the second is get out of your comfort zone. I mean, just get new experiences, new ideas, expose yourself to new people. You'll be amazed at how much you learn. And I think I got that observing you, being around you. And the third one is get yourself a great mentor. I did, and it changed my life, personally and professionally. So, I thank you, Lavinia. I mean, I know you introduced me, and you were so gracious. But and I know you've done this for so many others, and I feel fortunate that you've been by my side, and I could, when I'm at a crossroads, I can pick up the phone and call you, because it never gets easier, right? There's always something that is going to happen, no matter how old you are, how much experience you have, that you need somebody who's balanced on the other side, who's going to give you advice, which is, just from their heart, not because they have any kind of motive. And that is, and I thank you for that.
Well, Anisha, as I said earlier in my introduction, I'm so grateful to you, and you really have been a gift in my life. I mean, more than I can tell you, probably because also those last 6 years at Equinox were really on some level so challenging for me, because I did have a son.
Yeah.
And, we've talked a lot about that in these shows, but you really were somebody that, I mean, I just don't know how we would have been able to really do so many of the things that we did if you weren't there on my, right there with me. And I genuinely mean that, because I mean, I know at times I was just like a tornado would come into the room, and no matter how many ideas I had, and no matter how phonetic my energy was, and I know at times my energy, especially when I was younger, could be that, you were always the anchor. You were so amazing at anchoring and being able to like really put my vision into, like you said, to put it on paper and then to come up with a structure that could roll it out. We would always say, we're going to pilot it. We're going to pilot it. Yeah. And I'm really so grateful for that. And again, I really love that you're going on and you've had so many amazing successes. I mean, that really does. I mean, that fills my heart as much as building my own business does. And it really does. When I see people that I've shared with and I've collaborated with and had the opportunity to get to know and to care about and love, and I see them, using some of the wisdom that I've shared, I mean, it really does. I mean, at the end of my day, like those are the things that make me feel really filled with joy and happiness in my life. So I'm so grateful to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And guys, we're going to be doing an offer. I believe we're doing the glow kit. Is that what we're doing? The glow kit?
The DIY spa kit. Yeah, the home facial.
The home facial. It's going to go on to laviniaerrico.com, onto my website, and then put in the code LE, which is Lavinia Errico 15, and you'll get a 15%. And feel free to share with me about like the products, because I love these products, and I know you're going to love the way your skin looks. By the way, there's one other product I really, really love, is your face sunscreen. Is amazing.
Yeah, Protect Plus. Yeah.
It's one of the only ones that, believe it or not, I still break out. It's one of the only ones that did not clog my pores. So I just love that. Anisha, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story with us, and your light and your wisdom and your energy. So, so, so grateful. And everyone, we will see you next Wednesday. Have an amazing week. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavinia.